thanks for coming tonight. Both Cuny and I traveled long distances to get here tonight, so I think we're both a little jet lagged, but we'll do our best to be as present as possible. Tonight, like always, I want to thank Pier 24 and Bob and Randy Fisher and a few other people who have contributed to this kind of great program that we have here, bringing in people from all over the place to come and work with our students. The next person coming in will be right after Thanksgiving, so in 2 weeks we'll have Alex Soth, and he'll be speaking on the 29th, if I'm not mistaken, at San Francisco MoMA, and there'll be an email that goes out explaining how you can get tickets. It will be free to CCA people. Tonight, I'm lucky enough to go to Europe sometimes and get to wander through bookstores and see books there that I rarely get to see in the States. And many years ago, I found a book of yours that I had no idea who she was, but it was a gem of an object. And I mean, there's just this remarkable way that Cuny kind of connects people, usually children, with the landscape that I've never seen before. There's a level of intimacy that as I said, I've rarely experienced. And the best way I can describe her, because I just met her tonight for the first time. I've talked to her, but I've admired her, as I said, is like a restaurant, a really good restaurant that's a secret that you don't want everybody else to know about. And I think we're lucky enough tonight to all eat at the same place. So it's really great to have you here. So enjoy.
Well, thank you, Jim. That was really a compliment. So there you all are. I couldn't see any one of you. It was very dark. Okay. So my name is Cuny Janssen. I'm 36 years old. I'm a mother of 2 girls, 1 and 5 years old, stepmother of 2 boys, 19 and 22-year-old, and about to be step-grandmother. So it's kind of a lot. I married a photographer, an art historian, and a gallerist who is one person. So, I wrote everything down, and that's very difficult. I prefer to tell you, but I did my best to put everything in nice sentences, and I had even an editor, so I tried to read a little bit, and then I have stories aside, so forgive me for looking down a little bit. So I brought all my photo books, and they're here on the, not the table, but the floor. There are 6 photo books of mine, and I brought a photo book of Michael Wolff, which I will discuss later. And I think it's important to have the real object in front of you. Later you can go here and look at them. So, right. Okay. Besides visiting San Francisco, this lecture for me is an opportunity to study a little bit more of what I can only call this, Hineininterpretierung. And I just typed it because when I told it to someone in the airplane yesterday, it's like 3 times, what do you say? It's a German word, and it's not translatable. I can only try to explain what it means. So it means giving or putting a meaning into something after the event, interpreting an unintended meaning. So I don't know if I have to repeat this, but that's what it is. I first began to suspect the existence of such a phenomenon when I visited the south of India for 6 months in 2002 to take pictures of children of all the different castes. And I went to India because I had this plan after my graduation to travel around the world, take pictures of children in different countries, and maybe after 20 years show them all and see the differences and the similarities, and kind of like my own family of man. So I have to write things here. Put this away. I'll mention the word many times, but now you have it visioned, or how do you say that? So this is my first photo book, India. Oh, this is strange. Sorry. The children that are in this book are from a different a spread of backgrounds, from communities of untouchables, untouchable beggars to rich Brahman families. And I wrote in the book about universal similarity of people. I literally said, each individual is moved by their own vulnerability and ambivalence. Their emotions and desires fascinate me. I'm convinced that all people are essentially the same, whether rich or poor, intelligent or simple. The amazing paradox, however, is that each person is also unique. Every person is formed by different life experiences, and each creates his or her own mix of human generalities. Ultimately, it's phenomenal to discover the individual in each person, valuable, dignified, and authentic. That's 10 years ago or 12 years ago. I intentionally gave no other information. The children there had serious daily, even hourly circumstances they had to deal with, being an untouchable, for example, or having a father who owns half of the city of Chennai, Madras in Western name. I didn't give any specific information about any particular child because I knew from experience that that could distract the viewer from the kernel of what I had wanted to portray: simple human dignity and authenticity. Without being aware of the concept of Hineininterpretierung, here it comes, and having never even heard of that long German word, I wanted to avoid coloring the viewer's appreciation or perception of the subjects of the Indian portraits, though at the time I didn't quite know why. I was struggling with a concept to do with a viewer's perception that did not clarify itself in my mind till I went to the new state of Macedonia for 3 months the following year to take pictures of children who had been through the war. I was curious about whether their trauma would be visible in their faces. I should have guessed before I went that this would not be the case, but I simply wondered what I would see. So this resulted in the book Macedonia, Portrait Landscape, which shows children and their land, and in which a very short description is given. It's as if I planned this, but that's the description of the conflict situation of the people in Macedonia. And it also includes the fact that the children in the book have different backgrounds, different ethnical backgrounds. But again, it doesn't give any specific information about every child, just a general situation. While taking the pictures, I wasn't looking for bullet divots in the walls, but nor did I avoid them. In those months in the Balkans, I spoke to many people, visited many refugees' households from all the different ethnic groups who had so recently been killing each other and were still each other's enemies. I listened to every side of the story, and I could only agree with all of them. I didn't do this to be as complete as possible in my research, like an academic would, but it was pure interest and the only way for me to understand what was happening. My take on Balkan people in general is that they are passionate and given to indulging nostalgia. I'll never forget sitting with new friends at a table one day in a dark cafe, smoking, hearing their fiery complaints about just about everything that was wrong and unjust in their corner of Europe. With this in my mind, and closely examining my portraits of the children, sad, serious, angry, I realized that theirs was a natural state of being. Then something happened. After looking at the book, most people said the same thing. You can really see the war, that you can really see what the war has done to them. They wanted to see the war. The children in my pictures never laugh. They look natural but concentrated. This doesn't mean that they're unhappy. Still, the people wanted to see the war, and I could only wonder if they succeeded in doing so because they knew, which is hinein interpreterum, or if it was really visible. I knew that those children had picked themselves up in their young lives and had the same daily emotions everyone has. The look in their eyes could as well be part of the Balkan way of looking into the world. Nostalgic, slightly heavy. Or another possibility, looking very seriously and almost angrily into a camera could simply mean that the child had a bad mood that day. And the landscape became guilty too. Unsurprisingly, people see it as the land that had so recently been fought over, or the nature as a silent witness of the war. What connects these two, in my opinion, is that nature and children look into the future. Nature, the landscape that surrounds people, is part of their identity, consciously or not. That was a simple idea I had, and that I was working with, the land and its people. Please understand me, it was never my intention to mislead the viewer. I thought that I had only to stay as objective as possible and just present a few facts, a context. But the question remains. We will probably never know if the people seeing these photographs for the first time see the war simply because they know it happened, or if the Balkan wars are really visible in the faces of these children. The work, the photos in the book have an existence of all of their own, and I'm content about that. It was never my intention to prove or confirm anything. After I made it, the series took on a life of its own, open to anybody's interpretation. I would like to add something, two things actually. I forgot to mention that I started taking pictures of children, and slowly, adults came into the viewfinder, and this all has to do with taking pictures of children very close by, and I was fascinated by the gaze or by the face. And I showed, as you can see, also the hands and the body, but I consciously started to step back literally during the years to show more of the child's surrounding. And therefore, the domestic arena comes in as well. And at some point, I had to make this choice to, how to say, where the domestic arena disturbs the focus on the child. So at some point, I had to separate the pictures, the portraits, and the domestic arena. So now I'm working with 3 groups. It's portraits, domestic arena, and nature. Just a little structure. And the second thing is, when I went to India, I also took pictures of landscapes, of nature, but I never did anything with that, and I didn't really know what to do with it. When I went to Macedonia, I took Robert Adams's book, Why People Photograph, with me. I'm sure you all know. And after I read that, and while taking pictures of the nature in Macedonia, I learned that my work could be structured in the elements silence, time, and light. as well, the portraits as well as the landscapes. And this really helped me to understand what I was doing. So beside the other things I mentioned about portraits and landscape, portraits and nature. So that's about that. Yeah, okay. I would now like to show you two series of photographs made by two other photographers and ask again, what do we really see? In both series, we see the pictures differently when we know the context, though in different ways. Yes, I forget it's in here. There you go. So these are photographs of Charlotte Dumas. The portraits of dogs are intriguing. Their silence and intensity never fail to grab my attention. What I would like to say about it is a single shared experience unites all of these American working dogs. They were all at the same place at the same time 1 decade ago, searching for survivors in the smoke and dust of the wreckage of the World Trade Center. That shared experience was the incentive for Charlotte Dumas to pursue this subject and to photograph the dogs. For the last 10 years, Dumas has photographed European animals controlled or trained by people, such as working dogs, horses, and tigers. She has photographed dogs with such occupations as hunters, lifeguards, and truffle seekers. She always managed to show the animals as individuals with their own character, and in that sense, her portraits are real portraits. Sorry, her photographs are real portraits. When I discovered the context of this particular series, something happened again, and this may well be an extreme example of Hineininterpretierung. Knowing that the dogs are united by the experience of searching for survivors at the 9/11 atrocity, I wanted to see them as a symbol of the first decade of the 21st century, and in shame, I have to admit that almost in panic, I projected all the problems right now in the world onto these poor dogs. That's a real example of Hineininterpretierung. Let me explain. Lately, I've been annoyed, like many others, about what has happened worldwide in the last 10 years and is still going on. Among many other things, I'm worried about the cruel insanity of the economic crisis gripping both Europe and America today, and the lack of consciousness about the decreasing resources. Among many other things, this just two mentioning. I feel I'm witness to a period of heaving change that in future history books will be remembered as the period when so much happened, or ended, or began. My point is that it was never Charlotte's intention to make me tremble in my shoes. And if it's Hineininterpretierung or not, it doesn't matter. Beside the beautiful series that it is, it has the capacity to alert my consciousness. Next one. So I have his book right here, so I'm sure many of you will know it already, but if you don't, you can have a look right there. And I'm sorry I didn't have Charlotte's book with me, but well, I'm sure you will find a way to get it and to see it. It's very much worth it. It's beautiful. So I would like now to show you a series by Michael Wolff. Without knowing what I was looking at, I was truly shocked when I saw this for the first time. These are passengers on the Tokyo subway in a series, by Michael Wolff, called Tokyo Compression. In many ways, it isn't what it looks like, and at the same time it is. It's not some dreadful gas chamber. That was my first thought. Knowing that these photographs were taken in the subway, a banal day-to-day situation, makes it hard to believe what I actually see. That they are alarming images loaded with beauty and silence makes them intriguing and fascinating to me. These two alert my consciousness. It's not disturbing to see them all the time, or is it okay? Okay. Right. My grandma was a turtle. In 2008, I took these pictures of American children who had indigenous ancestors and had been raised within Native American families. I was curious to see just how much of these children's Indian ancestry would be visible, another subject particularly prone to hineininterpretierung. I had not been interested in visiting a reservation where I knew I would find Indians familiar from photo books and the movies. It was important to me to find modern families who lived like other families in a house with a job and a car. Because of that, the first title I thought of for this series was No Feathers and No Horses, simply to break with the common image-in expectation held by many, including myself. The title I finally came to was My Grandma Was a Turtle. It came from something I heard when visiting members of the Delaware tribe. They told me that there are various clans within the tribe that took their names from the turtle, the turkey, and the wolf. The tribe is matriarchal, and the name of a clan indicates precisely in what way the children are related to their ancestors. The child's clan was simply that of his maternal grandmother, the mother of his mother. Above all, it was important to me that the children were being raised as Indians, so that they were conscious of exhibiting an Indian identity. So a tall blonde boy named Scott Burks, with as little as 30% Indian blood, or even less, could still feel and present himself as an Indian. In the series, you can see children who look like that, as well as others with dark hair and many more with familiar Native American features who are uncertain about whether their grandmother was a full-blood Indian. I found this fascinating, and finding out just what would be visible in the appearance, features, demeanor, and attitude of these children, relaxed in their own homes, encouraged me to visit them and to research their backgrounds. In the book about them, the names of the children and the tribe each of them belong to are given. I have never published the name of any child before out of respect for their privacy, but in this case I made an exception because combined with the visible, the title acknowledging the tribe and clans provided context. As ever, I photographed nature that surrounds the children. In this case, however, the land, as in Macedonia, carried extra meaning because of its history. I wanted to look at the land without being disturbed by any ideas about who it belonged to in history or who it belongs to now. I didn't want to demonstrate or prove anything. I just looked at what I could really see, as I did with the children. It is the future that creates a relationship between nature and children. I'm above all attracted by the resourcefulness of life. So that's about the reading part, so now I can talk. my grandma was a turtle. This book was made at the same time as a mommy. I don't have slideshow for that, but the book is right there. I can show that. It's this one. And this gives me an opportunity to tell you a little bit about the process of designing. I work with the same designer with all the books. It was like one book a year, and this occasion I had material for 2 books, and I thought, why not try to make them at the same time and present them at the same time as a challenge? And so that's what we did. And I just want to share you the little process that was, or how to say, a little example of how it went. When I came to Sibren Kuiper, the designer, with the material, I handed it over, and when he looked through Amami, I have to tell you shortly what it is. Amami is a little subtropical island in the south of Japan. You have to fly 3 hours from Tokyo to get there, so it's really remote. And I went there to, again, take pictures of children and their nature. So with this material, I came to Sibren, and he went through it, and he said, there should be a lot of white in here. There should be, this is very, I don't know if this is a good word, but we call it etherisch, and maybe it's like cloudy or almost spiritual. So it's not really the word, but it comes close. So, and he said there should be transparent paper in it, and this is all his first reaction on the work. And that's how it works. The first impression is very important. And then he went through the turtle things. I always mention it, the turtle book. It's easier to say that. So he went to the turtle things, and after that he said, "Oh, this should be big, and this is like Earth. The paper should be thicker, and it should be more with a structure in it." And so the basic feeling of these 2 bodies of work it was so different, and I thought that was so. That was good material. That was a good thing to work with, to start with. So we started to do the design, or he started to do the design, and then the good thing about it was when you jump into one work, and then you have to jump into the other work. It keeps you sharp. I don't know how to say this, but it was a very interesting experience to make 2 books at the same time. Let's keep it on that. So, better. So, yeah, that was a little anecdote about the designing process. I have another project I would like to show you. I'm doubting now if I should give you the final first and then show you the work. Maybe I'll do that. Then I can throw this away. What will be visible in the photograph? How much information will be needed to provide a context, to create or give a meaning? Which photographs might become a series? How to avoid repetition? How to ensure to ensure the picture is not didactic, knowing or guessing who will look at the photographs. All of these decisions influence the choices to be made before a picture is taken, during the taking of a picture, and while making the selections, and in the final presentation. Even after all these considerations and well-made choices, you never know what time will do and how the meaning of a series can be changed by Hineininterpretierung, be it for the better or for the worse. I'll put my trust in posterity. So, I would like to show you some work from my latest, newest series, and I'm working on a book about that too. This work is made in, again, Japan, in Yoshino. It's a sacred mountain loaded with temples, shrines, and they say that behind every tree there's a ghost or a spirit or something. Well, you can imagine. And I went there because the Belgian writer Jos Vos, he proposed to do something together, to make a project together, and he usually translates Japanese literature, classical literature, and his dream has always been to make a mini anthology about this place, because many poems, theater plays, even prosa, for example in Tanizaki, was written about or in this place, and many legends are in this Yoshino place. And I was immediately attracted to that idea, and so the idea was to make pictures, that I would go there and make pictures, and he would select poems and pieces of theater plays and prosa and put it all together in a book and see where it would connect. So at this moment we have all the material, and I'm just showing you the pictures of nature. There's no children in this time, but only the domestic area, like houses and some streets, but those pictures I think I will only show with the text that is written. He has also written his travel experiences, or described his travel experiences, and those pictures will be better combined with that text. But the body of the book will be mainly the nature pictures, and it will be big probably, because we think you should really be able to get into this atmosphere and this kind of fairy tale atmosphere. So as I said, it's work in progress, so I don't have, maybe in 6 months I will say other things about it. So, but this is how it is. I have one more series. If you're not tired of all the images, I can show you another series. Okay. I would like to mention one more thing about this project. I'm very interested in the fact that Jos, the writer, he basically knows the place from all the poems he read, all the things he read from literature, so experience through literature. And I basically experienced the whole place by observing, by going there and really sitting there and observing the surroundings. So, and I'm just very curious where the two will meet. And I will write a little bit about that in the book as well. And just wanted to share that. This series I made last summer. It is an assignment. Somebody asked me to go to Belgium, to a place where a group of houses are in the Ardennes, but you will probably not heard of the place. people go there for holidays because it's very green and very beautiful. But there's also this group of houses where children are taken care of. They can't go home. Their parents have problems with alcohol, drugs, or whatever, and they well, how do you say, they're not often, but kind of. So, and they asked me to go there and take their portraits. And in this series, I'm very curious what will happen, because there will be a book about it. They have text from the children. They made interviews about what family means to them. They live with 5 children in one house with a mother that will take care of them. And some live there from 3 months old, when they were brought in when they were 3 months old, and some were older. And in this case, again, it's a very good example of Hineininterpretierung, because you look differently to the pictures when you know that their situation, when you know that, or maybe only can guess what happened in their lives. Why couldn't they stay with their own parents? I mean, it's drama. But I was there, and it was very nice to be with them the whole week, and we had, you know, hikes, and we did picnics and barbecues, and we had a great time. So they have their daily things. So that's what really interests me. That's it. I think, I'm not sure it's so long. I was hoping that we could have another conversation when you have questions, and but maybe we should have some more light on the public then, because I really cannot see anyone. It's like, and I'll switch this off. It's enough. So. You can, I think you can go away there. Yeah, thank you. That's it. So, any questions? It sounds very like. Yes?
I had a question about your series of Macedonia images.
Yeah.
And in the book format, you chose to orientate the landscapes in a portrait. And I was just kind of curious, like, what the impetus was for that.
Like, why I did that?
Yeah.
Actually, we wanted to play with the idea of, that a landscape format is generally, or the universal lying format, and the portrait format is generally standing, and we just played with that. But the main reason, because that was just a side effect, but the main reason is that if you have the portraits like this and the landscape like that, the landscape has influence on the way you look at the portrait, but it does not, because it's not the way it should be. It's less disturbing, or less. It has another way of influencing it, by colors, by composition, and I thought that was interesting. And I didn't want to. And I'm saying I all the time, but really this is a process with the designer and me. We really sit together, and he has an idea, and I have an idea, and this you know, it's like building up together, and that happens with all the books. I think also that I wasn't disturbed by any conventions, like how, you have to, if you put it like, if you have a lying book, you have to show everything in a lying format. Like, why? You can just switch the how do you say that? Flop it. How do you say that? Anyhow, and then I can't even remember if it was my idea or Sibrun's idea to do it that way, but I do remember that we came to the point and said, like, but why not? Why wouldn't we do that? So that's the main thing. I guess. So, yeah.
So when you take pictures of children, do you set them up, or do you take a lot of pictures, or what's the process?
Maybe it's good to tell you that I work with a plate camera, 4x5 inch. So it's a slow process, and everywhere I go, it's arranged. I mean, it's not spontaneous. I knock on the door and say, "Hey, can I come and take pictures of your children?" So it's a really a process. I have a translator. Usually, the same person is the introducer. Very often I have appointments, and I go there, and people are ready for me to come, and it's very difficult, different. Sometimes I enter a house because I always take the children at home in their own environment, and I need their parents' permission, because if that's very, very important, literally, and in a way of, if the parents are okay, then the children feel much more comfortable. So I need their full cooperation and their full, sorry?
Having the picture taken.
Yes. So, and then there's different situations. I come, sometimes the whole family is like, so what should we do? It's like that. And then I really have to improvise and try to get my translator, talk to the mother, and if it takes a too long time, the father is like, starts reading the newspaper or something, and then the kids start playing around, and then that's what I need. And when I start taking pictures of one child, for example, the other child is looking, waiting, and very often, because I want a natural, I want it to look natural. I want you to believe the situation or the photograph. But sometimes I have to pose them or recall a situation. Can you go there and sit there again like that? Or children never know, like, how was I sitting? I mean, so you really have to help them and observe and try to. Or if I enter a house and I immediately see something that I like, I immediately go there and say, please don't move, freeze, and wait until I set up my camera and like that. Or I have to say, please remember the way you are now, and go back later like that. So it can be completely arranged, but it can be very natural as well. For example, when I stayed in Japan, I stayed with a family for 2 weeks, and the girl, it's actually the girl from the poster, the eating noodles. She did that every day. It was her breakfast, and I sat opposite to her every day like that. And my camera was already set up, because I would go from there to the other people in the village, and then I always had in mind I still want to take pictures of her as well. But I was waiting for the right moment, and there it was. She was sitting there. The light was like okay, because it's 1 second shutter time, this photograph, which is a long time for a child. Sit still. She was there eating the noodles, and I suddenly saw it, and I left my own noodles and asked her to just stay exactly the way she was, and that's the ideal situation. So, but sometimes I have to recall it, and the other question, it takes like 1 or 2 photographs, or if they blink with their eyes, I have to take three or something. So usually it's like that. It's very expensive. Like every photograph is like 10 euros or something. So you'll think twice before you make it. Okay.
Will you talk a little bit about your background and when you started to fall in love with photography, and how you started to hold on to 4x5, and if you ever think about not using 4x5, and kind of
Sure. That was it's all been in the process. I started at an art academy studying fashion 2 years, and then I switched to photography. Finished it in 3 years. Did my practical period at Thomas Truth for 3 months in Düsseldorf. It was a great experience, and after that everything was totally clear for me, like, okay, now I know what to do. So and during my studies and also in India I shot with 4.5 by that's centimeters, you don't know how much that is, a mid-size camera, a Bronica actually. So and after that experience, I was playing with the idea to get a bigger size camera, but it had some impact because it's really a slow process. But I did. I made that choice, and I thought the more difficult it is, well, the better the result when it works. So. So I started to work with the 4x5, and then you asked other things, kind of, yeah. So that's Macedonia was the first time I did that. So
are you scanning film? Are you using film and then?
It's all analog. Everything.
Or you're using an analog printer as well.
Yes, everything is like the old days, just like a negative, develop it, and I do scan them, as you can see. I mean, but that's only for having it in my computer and be able to send it to people. And I don't have an archive, digital archive or anything. It's just negatives, and in the lab, they do it all analog. It's with chemicals and. That's as long as I can do that, I probably will. So the idea, maybe I should mention, to me, it still feels like the digital process is. To me, it would be like I would try to get as close as possible to the analog result, and I think that's really silly, because then you make all those long ways to get there, while you get there in one step if you stick to the analog system. So yeah.
You said that you had read Robert Adams, and it kind of shows there's some influence of his in your landscape work. I was just curious how you feel your philosophy towards the landscape differs compared to his.
Oh, wow, that's a good question. Well, I never really compared my work with his work, and I was just inspired, and especially his essays helped me getting to the ideas that I have now. And but the other things, I would have to think about that. I don't know. So, is there anything else?
Can you describe the practical? We don't have that really.
What a practical period is?
Yeah.
It's like. Yeah, an internship, of course. That's what it is. Thank you. Is that clearer? Or yeah, we have to do. It's you have to do that period before you graduate, before you do your own piece. And I did it in between the years. So in my holidays, actually. That's it. One more question? Or that was just an arm?
Besides Bob Adams, who are some of the other artists that you turn to, and why?
That I turn to, or being inspired? Well, some of them I showed you. Charlotte is someone in Holland that from the moment that I met her, I felt like I had found someone who was at the same level. It sounds very awful, but it was like that. She had the same questions, she had the same worries, and the same, and all her procedures I could follow, and I thought we were in one line with that. And well, there's so many people. Thomas, of course, Thomas Strude, he's my great hero, and he taught me many things just by letting me observe him, because I once assisted him or so, but it's was not very was not a big deal. Let's keep it on that. But I was just with him every day, and I could go through his archive. He would tell about his work, and I got to see all the, how to say, normally you have the books with the selected work, and I got to see all the other things that weren't in the book and why they were not in the book, for example. And and he took me to the lab, how to print things, and all his considerations. So that was very inspiring and helpful, and I learned a lot. So other people I really admire, Fazal Sheikh, maybe you know. He's also a hero for me. I think it's incredible what he can do. Judith Joy Ross, I really think it's very interesting what she does. And, I can go on for an hour. It's like, yeah. So I hope that's a little bit insight, information. Is there anything else you would like to know?
Most of the people that you mentioned have a short focal length, use a short focal length, so that the subject is in focus and the background is out of focus. Judith Joy Ross, there's something about that.
Yeah, it's quite obvious, I guess, because I'm interested. You mentioned it when you introduced me, the intimacy of people, to be allowed to look at someone undisturbed without them feeling uncomfortable and without it being something you shouldn't, is pure admiration and pure interest. And I think all those people do that in their work, and they show the true value of the person. And maybe that's interesting to say. Many people think that Thomas's portraits are very distant, and I totally disagree, because I think they're very warm, and I know how he is with his friends, and everyone that comes into his heart is really well, you know, stays there. And I see that in his portraits very much. So, and because of the formal aspects of his portraits, you get the space to you get the rest, or the space to get in there, and you feel free to walk through the picture. Doesn't make any sense. So.
If you photograph for a book project, do you think in terms of that book when you photograph, or do you just still think of the individual image?
I even with the last project, I never start a series with a book in my head. Never. I always go to a place because something woke me up. Something disturbed me, and sometimes it's a process of years that I heard something. For example, I hear something today about Ecuador. I just mentioned something, and then that fascinates me, and then maybe 1 year later I hear again something, or I start noticing things about that place or situation, and then it grows and grows, and then I think I really should go there and see it for myself. And that's so making a book is just like it's a process that is totally away from dealing with the things I'm doing when I'm taking pictures. I'm really there and I'm dealing with people, and it's really I'm not even dealing with taking photographs. I'm just dealing with the people. Does that make sense? Because I mean, I am taking photographs, but that's such a routine process that I don't even think about that.
So in your case, the book happens after the fact of photography?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't want to have fixed ideas about what will come out. I just want to be there and do some research, and not some research. I just want to get into this situation or the people, and then collect it and come home and then see what's visible and what comes out, and then I can think about what will be the best way to the best form to present it. So.
Yeah, well, I guess that answer makes me even a little more curious. You talked a little bit about it, but that you have someone who has gone before you and sort of somehow introduced you, or why you're there. And I would think that some parents might be welcoming and some might be suspicious. Is there a particular thing that what hooks them into letting you come into their house?
Why would they allow me to come?
Yes.
Yeah. Also very different reasons. One particular example is in Macedonia, in a camp with Roma refugees. I was not allowed to go there and take pictures, and they had to really first ask the people there, the older ones, if it would be okay if I would come, and I said, don't tell them I'm a journalist, because that would make them get the wrong expectation. I cannot promise them to walk to the newspaper and tell everyone, show everyone their situation. But I'm interested in their situation, and I'm trying to do something with the material when I come home. I wanted to be very clear about that. And I always promise a photograph for them. I mean, that's for me very... I sometimes even forget to, because it's so normal that they get a photograph, a portrait. All of them, every child I took pictures of in my life got his portrait. So, and usually that's enough, because being interested in them and trying to make something beautiful of it and try to show it is often enough. So they allowed me, the people in the camp allowed me, but it was still not allowed from the authorities, but they had to sneak me in, and yeah, that's another story. Then in Japan, for example, not everyone would allow me in, and then that's fine, because I totally respect their their choice, or their just not wanting it. I don't even have a reason. I don't need a reason. That if you don't want it, you don't want it. It's fine. But not often. And I'm also surprised, but because I don't think I would ever let anyone in my house. It's very straight. I'm ashamed, but it's true. I would feel very uncomfortable. But the strange thing is that these people don't, and I'm very thankful for that. And maybe it's because of the kind of situation, of the kind of people I choose, but I just never happened that I couldn't work. I must say also, it just appears in my mind that especially nowadays, usually I would go 6 months, 3 months, 2 months. Now I go 1 week at the most. and I would go back maybe another time, a couple of times a year, but I cannot leave my family so long, and I don't want to leave them anymore so long, and I don't need to leave them for so long. I don't need so much time to be at a place to, you know, to discover everything. I think I had that a little bit, and I work very efficient. So before I go, I already know if people want it or not. So somebody will work ahead and arranges everything. So.
I have to say, after what you've said and seeing the intimacy of the portraits, there's something very pure about what is happening. People that you really don't know, and it just seems like you make this natural connection with them.
Yeah, that's
really hard to.
Thank you so much. But I must be honest, it doesn't feel like I deliberately do anything. It's just obviously, it works with me like that. So it's not hard for me. It sounds strange maybe, but it's just the truth. Maybe because I'm really interested. I really like them. I really love the children. I love the way they, and I feel very honored, and not only honored, but just getting their attention. To me, that is as thrilling and touching as the other way around, for them to get my attention. I think that's the main thing, just enjoying each other's, like, hey, I like you, hey, you like me. That's all. Or who are you? Maybe also the question, being curious, especially with children. So, okay. Thank you.